Happy Saturday, everybody. Is Dr. LaJoy and Dr. Lorna back for our episode? Today, we're going to be discussing Black students' mental health and emotional well-being. So, Dr. Lorna,
Hey, how you
hey.
doing? This is really a good one. I was excited when you came up with this one. I really was excited because think about our children. And I'm going to say this. I know that all children have their trauma and their mental health, and we're there to help all kids.
Mhm.
Our African American children, our Black children, when I was reading, I was like, oh my gosh. And every day I'm thinking we go through a lot of trauma and we're not
Yeah.
even realizing it because we're literally going through it and we're walking through it or we're driving through it, we're living through it. And you're not realizing that you're literally going through trauma and it's
Mhm.
messing with your mental health. And so if the adults are having their issue, think about those kids. Those children are struggling. They're struggling.
Yes, I would say daily trauma. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't realize the microaggression that we as a people deal with, especially and then our children who have no one to talk to or no way to express it, what they're feeling and how they're internalizing it because they don't have that support they need, is really affecting them. And one of the things that occurs from this type of trauma is our kids, when they can't express it or communicate it, it's misinterpreted and people see it as
Yeah.
behavior problems or that they are having attitudes or they pinpoint it on some type of stereotype that typically comes with us as Black people. Instead
Hmm.
of trying to understand that child and see what's going on and how that child needs support. Uh, and this is really a very emotional topic for me,
Hmm.
because I've shared with you before when I was a child, and I experienced probably a very devastating trauma as a child, especially as a Black child. When I was 9, and this is about in 81 to 82, I lost my father. And when I lost my father, and I was in a gifted program. So this is the thing about it is even though I was labeled as gifted, I was still treated as a problem child because at that time I was not knowing how to communicate and say, hey, I need support. I'm shutting down. I don't want to do these things because right now I'm trying to deal with what I'm going through. Instead
Right.
of them being aware of this, they made me labeled me as a problem, just
Hmm.
as they still do today. And here it is 40 something years later, and they're still doing this and were ready to kick me out the program. But
Hmm.
I can say this, it was one teacher, and I will be honest, and I'm not saying all white people, this happened to be a white teacher. She treated me so horribly. Whereas my savior, and I will say that, was a Black teacher. And I'll gladly say her name, and probably why I became a science teacher later. Her name was Mrs. Jordan. She
Okay.
was probably one of the best teachers I ever encountered in my life. Beautiful woman, beautiful soul. And she saw what I was going through, and she was the one who took my hand and helped,
Hmm.
to and said, wait a minute, this baby is going through it.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with her. She just needs the right support systems. And
Hmm.
that is what I'm seeing now. And a lot of why I went in education is because I see a lot of our Black students who are still being treated this way to this day. They are labeling them as problems, having
Yeah.
behaviors, having
Right.
attitudes, but they're not looking into what is this child going through? Why are they behaving this way? Especially with all of the things they have to encounter, especially with the rise of the internet, where you really
Yeah.
experience racism, not just directly, but indirectly
Right.
online, and they don't
Yeah.
know how to navigate those types of environments, and they need the supports on how to get through them. So that's one thing I want to share right there is this is a really huge phenomenon, I want to say, with our kids, that
Hmm.
they need support, they need understanding, and we have to create better systems to support them. And we too, as a people, need to be aware and be more open and understanding to our kids when they are going through this type of trauma. Because most of the time, what I've noticed is that those kids that people label as bad or being problems, once you get to know them, they are the sweetest kids,
They are. They
the
are.
most giving
They
kids
are.
that you will
I had to
encounter,
see.
that
I
will
had to
give
see.
their last because
Yeah.
they understand how it is to feel to not have.
And they'll protect you quicker than anybody.
Yes,
Once
yes,
you
they will.
establish that collegial relationship, they're there. But when you said that, and you're right about this one part when you mentioned that we all have to pretty much understand, we all have to understand what the children are going through
Hmm.
because there's a it's a defiant disorder. It's called oppositional defiant disorder.
Hmm.
And the root issues are defiance, anger, and refusal. And they're saying that their main behaviors, they say no. And not that they're saying no because they don't have nothing else better to do. They're arguing or they're very emotional. It's because of a traumatic issue that may have happened in their younger lives. And so
Hmm.
sometimes we don't excuse me, and let me slip this in real quick. They would say bad kids. And I used
Hmm.
to have this wonderful woman. She said, you don't say bad kids, you say they're challenging because you don't know exactly what's going on. They're traumatic. It's something traumatic that might have happened when they were born. It may be a medical issue that's going on in the brain because that can happen too. But instead of us, and I'm guilty of it too, instead of us try to figure out and listen to them, try to get to know the children and understand what's going on, for you to be that combative, for you to be that ready to jump, something has to be going on. And this is where we need to, as Nate Evans Jr. said, we need to create a safe space. That's why I got it. A safe space. If we don't do that, they're going to always come at us. They're going to always try to fight. They're going to always try to do anything that's harmful to them or to the others in the room. But we got to get to know them and understand it. And if we see something wrong, we should be able to. I know we call parents, we talk to parents, counselors, administration. I feel like, this is the time now. Start organizing opportunities for psychologists to come to the school, even if it's just to talk to the teachers and the staff. See what's going on. What can we do that can help these kids? Because, yeah, some of these children, the traumatic events in their lives is causing them to do some things that even I'm looking like, ooh,
Hmm.
let me step back because
Yes.
I'm about 2 seconds, we may have to swell up and then we need to, and you had said those children, once you get to know them and once you get to really understand what's going on, they down for you. They 10 toes down for you
Yes.
because they
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
you have just did something that their own parents didn't do.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
cared. You showed me that you cared. So, and I see that. And when you had said, there's a teacher that I love when I was in fifth grade, and she called, I wanted to go to Mexico. And I wasn't acting out, but I just wasn't happy. I wanted to go to Mexico. My daddy said, you ain't going to Mexico without one of your mom or your daddy. It's one of us. So the
You know,
teacher,
that's a parent, that's a rule in the
that's
Black
it.
household.
And you're not. And so Miss Winding, and I love her. I'm Facebook friends with her.
Hmm.
And she did something. She went out and she got to know my mom and dad even more. And my mom worked there. So, but she still got to know us better. And she was right there. Miss Weiner was right there. She would call, anytime call, she talk call. So she reached out. I still didn't get to go, but at least she knew my mom better, and she knew my dad didn't play. But it was funny though. It was funny about that. So when you talked about the teacher on your end, I had some I had some horrible teachers, but I had some
Hmm.
really good teachers that
Yes.
really cared. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, they really, really cared and they took it to another level. That's what Gloria Lansing Billings said. I talked about her last time. She had her book, and her book had every ethnic group there that was able to work with black children and to increase that the black child's mental health, increase their learning skill levels, everything that you can imagine. And that's what we need. We need those teachers that's going to go that extra mile. And
Hmm.
like I said, I'm guilty of automatically saying, "Oh, he crazy. I need him out of my room." And I'm not happy about that. But as I continued, I'm kind of paying attention. I said, "Okay, I see what's going on." So the traumatic issues is real and we
Yes.
just need to. But instead of automatically saying the child is bad or challenging, look and see if they have disorder, the opposition or defiant disorder. They say in the mood, the child is always angry. They're easily annoyed. Don't we know some kids that was like that?
Oh, definitely. I can say at that moment in time for me, I was behaving that way. Because I felt, and this was my experience, as though nobody truly cared what I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
So a scream for help is going to come in different ways, and we have to recognize those things.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why, and I think I have a good reputation in the last 30 years, especially with students that know me, that I was that teacher, that when I saw that kid, I knew what was going on because I was once in their shoes. It may not be from a death of a parent, but something that traumatized them to put them in that position.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I still, recently am in the same way. Too many of our teachers, and this goes back to last week's conversation, the need for that training and cultural relevance. Because one thing I do know is that, and it goes back to the fact that Black children are being punished more severely for the same things that other students may do and is either ignored or they're just having a bad day. Where our
Mm-hmm.
kids are, oh, they need to be suspended because they are a problem child and they need to go. And that's
Exactly.
the two differences. I've seen this even recently. And I know this is a tough one. I remember being at a football game and it was unbelievable. This was actually a social worker made this comment. It was a parent arguing with a police officer. This was a couple years ago. And even though the parent was not wrong, because the police officer, sometimes they can be how they are. Um, the social worker literally slipped and said, and there was other people witnesses, I see why they killed them. I was shocked. I had to step back. I had to just compose myself and walk away because I know that me being a Black woman, that was a white woman, I made some comment. I would have been considered the problem. But I know that there was somebody that was standing right there with me. She was a minority, but she was Hispanic. She was just as shocked. It was very disturbing that this
Mm-hmm.
woman is a social worker and working with kids. And if you can say this comment, it makes me wonder, how are you working with Black students? And I'm just being very honest on this. It was very shocking.
I believe it. But the
This was
funny
a
part
couple of
about it
years
is,
ago
you
at a
see,
football game. I'll never
yeah.
forget that moment. And it really, and that right there tells me that instead of them trying to understand, they're immediately going to go to, if it's a Black child, a Black person in general, they're just a problem. And it's not for all of them, but there's a lot of them out there that have these masks that they hide behind. And the truth
Mm-hmm.
always comes out when something happens and it brings out that truth.
And they wonder why our kids are having mental
Hmm.
breakdowns or
Hmm.
why they are going the route they're going. And
Hmm.
it's something that Mr. Evans said that I really liked. He said we just got to get them early enough to start talking to them and working with them. Not saying that you can't work with them when they get older, like when they get to the high school level, But if we can do anything we can now to combat it, like even if it's in kindergarten, pre-K,
Mhm.
at home,
Mhm.
always create that safe space for them where they can express what they're going. They can talk to you. My son, I remember they talked about this at church one Sunday or one Saturday, and my son said, "That's all we do is talk." And I said, "I know." And then they came back and told me what he said, and I started laughing. I said, well, yeah, because I want my son to always know that he can always come to me and talk to me. Regardless of what's going on, he can always come and talk to me. And
Mhm.
and majority of the time I would do that at the school. I would say, y'all can talk to me whenever y'all want to. But just understand if you wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. It's not
Yeah.
like I'm going to sit there and just say, oh, you are right. No, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. I'm going to tell
Yes.
you when you're right and when you're wrong. And like a lot of times, it's a lady. I'm not going to say her name because she may kill me, but I am going to say I worked with her in the last school that I retired from.
Mhm.
And for 5 years, those 5 years, I always loved the way the children interacted with her. She
Mhm.
knew them. She lived in the neighborhood and they knew him. She was like auntie. She was their auntie. And
Mhm.
it didn't matter. She knew when a child was going through something and she'll grab them. Come here, let me talk to you.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of us that need to be like those aunties. Not necessarily the auntie, but get that conversation going. Talk to the
Yeah.
parents. And
Mhm.
if the parents telling you stay out my business, that's fine. I'm not going to get mad at that's your child. However, there's still things that you can do at the school that will allow those children to be themselves, and that's that safe space. And they have to have that safe space, regardless of what's going on.
And not only aunties, we need the uncles.
We need
And
some
the
uncles.
uncles, yes, we need those
Yeah,
uncles. And that's what we are seeing a lot, is that not only are we lacking Black educators in general, but when it comes to the Black male educator,
we need them
it's
back.
almost non-existent. That's where we're at, almost non-existent.
We not in. I can say in the schools. Most of the schools, maybe one or two, I didn't see many, but most of the schools that I worked, because I did like working with the Title I schools,
Hmm.
because I feel like the children would need us more. And we had a lot of uncles. We had some
Hmm.
really good uncles. We had some uncles that make you laugh. And but baby, them kids would sit up and minute them. I mean, like, you see so and so? Yeah, I see him. It's one of the school where I was a specialist. They loved it. The guy was he amazing. All of the teachers there were
Hmm.
amazing, but especially the coaches. The coaches were amazing, and those children loved them. But when I tell you, when that coach would say something, them kids would be on it. And they were, I don't, I'm trying to remember. I know they were Black. I'm trying to remember. Oh, and we had one Asian. I think he was Asian. But still, and even with him, my son adored him. He could do no wrong. So when they see themselves, we going back to culturally relevant. When they see
Hmm.
themselves, they feel good. They
They feel
feel
supported.
like everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be fine because I see me. I
Mhm.
see me, and I'm excited about seeing me. That helps them too. But sometimes we're not handling what we need to handle as well. Sometimes we forget that we were young one time.
Hmm.
And so we have to remember that. And I don't know, but I just feel like the kids love to see auntie and uncle.
Auntie, uncle, you know what? When you said that, that reminds me, like right now I live in Arizona, but I'm originally from Gary, Indiana.
Oh, but
You,
I want
home
Michael.
of Michael
All
Jackson, just
right,
like
Michael.
you're from Houston, which is the home of the Queen Bee. I'm
Beyonce,
from Gary, Indiana, the
Megan Thee
King Michael.
Stallion. Hey,
So we both come from predominantly Black cities of greatness. That's what I would
yes.
like to say.
Yeah.
And when I worked, I want to say I began my career, my first 14, 15 years was in Gary, Indiana. And that was the most amazing experience for me because it was predominantly Black. And we had a lot of those uncles and aunts. grandmas and grandpas, because we had some teachers that worked that were in their 90s and they were teachers and they didn't play. And believe me, it
Hmm.
was one that did it. It was the most amazing experience because I did get to see a lot of those same teachers when I worked that actually helped raise me to be the woman I became. But then when it was such a culture shock when you come into a different place
Yes.
and you see the struggles of our children, and I mean, not saying that our children didn't have struggles in those predominantly Black areas, but when you come here, it's even one more, it's two or three more layers of what they have to go through.
Yes. Yes.
They see more, instead of seeing that external racism, they're seeing more of that daily in their face type of
Mhm.
microaggression or being invisible, not being heard, being isolated, not treated correctly. Not only
Mhm.
does it affect our students, it affects our Black educators too.
Yeah.
So that's the difference in environments. That's why environments are important. I remember you bringing up that they have to have this safe place. And that's what is almost non-existent in a majority of school districts that are, I basically want to say, culturally, I mean, they say it's diverse, we call it diverse, but it's not being addressed. I want to say the diversity is being
Mhm.
ignored,
Mhm.
where they only feel that their behavior and their reactions and everything should only be consistent with the way they believe instead of looking at everybody's different cultural background on how they may behave or they may react or what is causing that. Even like we talked about before, they the belief that Black people feel no pain. Uh
I'm
but
still trying to get
physical
that one.
pain, and it goes back to even mental pain they don't believe we
Right.
feel, I don't
Exactly.
think.
Exactly.
So just to go back onto some of our conversations, these are all interconnected in some way.
Mhm.
And it goes back to what we're saying is so many people need training. Even Black teachers need training uh,
Yeah.
to have a better understanding of our kids. Uh,
Yeah. Yes.
and I just think that with me experiencing such trauma has
Mhm.
caused me to have life training. I call it. I had life training to be
You
more
did.
understanding my experiences and why I have such high empathy, especially for, and the thing, and I'm not going to say it's just not for Black students, but anybody who knows me has been Black, Hispanic, white. They're all to me God's babies and they need support when they're hurting. And we
Mhm.
have to be there for them. And that's just an important part of being an educator for me. And
Mhm.
that's where I stand with it. And I just know that ours get ignored the most. I just know that for a fact. And it's from observation and experience.
Well, one of the things that when you're looking at mental health and emotional well-being, it's nothing wrong with acknowledging the differences and the similarities of the children.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I talked to one of my coworkers and they said, well, I don't see race. And I said, well, then you're not taking care of your
Remember
business.
that color test I told you about?
Yeah,
That's what it
you
reminds me
can't.
of. Mhm.
But that's how you actually understand and reach out and you acknowledge and you are welcoming. Am I saying that right? Because my words seem like it's not coming out right.
You said it right.
Okay, thank you. And because it's okay when I see my beautiful black queens, and I'm like, oh, look at my beautiful little black queens. And
Hmm.
then I look at the little white children. I have one, I just loved her, the little cheerleader. And I would look at her and I call her the little white queen. And she'll say, I'm a queen. I say, you a queen. And even our Hispanic children, our Asian, I, I look at them because I want to get to know them more culturally, more mentally, more spiritually. I want to
Hmm.
get to know them so that I can see not just the outer. The outer you're going to see regardless.
Hmm.
That inner is important. So
Yes.
when you get to know that child and understand what's going on with that child, then you're able to connect with them. I had one little girl, she was driving me crazy. I was begging for the AP, God rest her soul, to get her out of my room. And she wouldn't. She said, no, Randall, you got this. And I was like, this little girl making my nerves bad. I'm going to lose my job. And she started
Mhm.
laughing. She said, nope. She said, I believe in you. You can do it. I told her, I said, you just don't want to put her with nobody else. You're trying to give me the blues. But at the end, I worked with her. I tutored her. I did everything. And then at the end, she passed her, I think it was a tax test, and she passed the test. And when she passed it, I ran to her. She was in another classroom, and I ran to her and I said, you passed." She said, "I passed." And she was just going all over. And I said, "Yeah." And her mother was giving me the blues too. But then when her mom heard that she passed, the mom came up there and just, she was like in tears. She was like, "Thank you." She wasn't crying, but you could tell she was happy. And I said, okay. And that again made me realize that I have to go beyond just what
Mhm.
I see on the outer. Even though I didn't care, she was a beautiful little girl. She just worked my last nerve. But again, I didn't know what was going on, the traumatic part, because she had trauma. I didn't know. So that's why I'm more advocating more now than ever that we got to know them more. We got to understand, and we got to go past they bad. We got to look at, do they
Yes.
have the disorder, or what's going on, or do they have ADHD?
Mhm.
Or even a lot of people think autism, and the first thing you want to do is go crazy on, oh, hey, autism, oh my God. And you're looking at them like, what's wrong? Autism is just another way of learning. They just
Yeah.
have to go another way. It's nothing that will hurt and harm you to get to know the children. And our Black children, the reason why they struggle more than anybody, look at the current climate right now. They don't want you to hire them. They over there
Oh,
threatening
that is
to put them on a
absolutely
large
true.
field. So you
Hmm.
think you'll put my babies on a field? I wish you would.
And,
So
and
that's
and it's
why
sad to
it's
say,
so. Go ahead.
I mean, it's just sad to say, not even wanting to hire them, they're even overlooked by other minorities that prevent them from getting jobs. And they can get upset with me when I say that, but they gatekeep, and they want to keep us out from opportunities, or even if we're in there, they're going to put us out of opportunities. That is huge in the last couple of years.
Mm,
I like what you were saying. Yes, it goes back to another conversation we had. Relationships are so important with our kids, because if you have that relationship, and I know it's difficult, especially once you get into the secondary level where we have 140 plus kids. You have to get to know
yeah.
140 different personalities, but it is
Mm-hmm.
so worth it. That's why I feel like those first couple of weeks of school should just be dedicated to getting to know your students
Right.
and knowing what's going on with them, because knowing your student could make a world of difference on how your class will be for that entire school year.
Yeah.
Even administrators need to get to know. I don't care if you have 4,000 kids, try to get to know every kid
Mm-hmm.
somehow, some way, because there is some kid that needs somebody somewhere in that entire group of kids. And us knowing that can prevent what is now what we're talking about when we get to that Black mental health and emotional well-being. Suicide rates are on the rise again. I
Girl,
was
I
shocked
three
to
to
see
five
those
times more
statistics.
than any other group.
Yes, our babies, Black babies, are
Yeah.
now surpassing what was in the 80s. As I remember, and even being a teen in the 80s, that used to be, we thought, a white thing. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's becoming more us, because, and they say it have a lot to do, I think, with social media. They're encountering more
Yeah.
of these issues, especially racism and racial issues, where we were a little bit protected if we were in predominantly Black environments.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see where that could be true. Even in high school with me, my freshman and my sophomore year, for some reason, I had went to basically almost predominantly white Catholic school. And
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you the racism was thick there. It was it was very thick at that time. I remember when Harold Washington passed away, and this was in Chicago. He was the mayor of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And there were literally white kids running down the hall cheering. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you really cheering. He's not even the mayor of your city. He has nothing to do with you. And what it came down to, it was just about the fact that he was a black man that was mayor. And I believe at the time he was the first black man that was mayor in a predominantly black city. I don't know if I'm standing to be corrected or not, but I remember my sister writing a letter to administration about how disturbing it was to even observe this. And these are just some experiences I've seen. I was so
Hmm.
happy because my sister was 2 years older than me and my cousin, we were all there together. When they graduated, I did a whole presentation to my mom why it would be best if she let me go to, and it's Roosevelt High School, and I'm proud of it in Gary. And I was so happy to get to go there. That one of the amazing experiences. Even my grades, my behavior, everything changed when I went to Roosevelt.
Okay.
I went from not caring to extremely, doing amazing and being
Uh-huh.
happy because I was surrounded with teachers that looked like me, cared about me, and made me feel like I have value and I am great. In which I guess you could say they had an idea. Look, I'm sitting here as Dr. Gardner now. I
You
think a lot of
did.
them would be proud
You
to
did
say,
it,
"Oh,
girl.
I'm one of the ones that achieved a great height for them." But this is what I can say. My experiences being younger, I understand what they go through. But as research also shows, back in the 80s, they didn't do that type of research with Black students. And I bet you if they did, they will find out there were students like me who had that trauma, had those
Hmm.
experiences that could push you to that point to want to give up or want to leave this planet because of how horrible people can be. You got a lot of horrible human beings, I like to say, on this
Yeah, you
planet.
do. And
Yeah,
whether all ethnic groups, some of them out there, you're looking at them like I don't even understand.
yeah.
Um, the mental side is um, hmm, our children are experiencing some serious mental breakdowns,
Hmm.
and the sad part about it is many do not want to acknowledge it because they
Hmm.
believe if they acknowledge it, it's a bad thing. And I'm talking about
They
in
see
our
it as
community.
weakness. They see it
In
as
our
weakness.
community. There you
Yeah.
go. In our
And we're always,
community.
and I say our generation,
Hmm.
and you're a generation before me, I'm X, Generation X. We were always told you got to be strong, suck it up. Don't let, we
There
had
you
to
go.
be.
Oh, you'll be all right. Go and take a
You'll
nap.
be up,
Go and take a nap.
shake it
Go, go,
off and
go,
keep
go
it
and go to
going.
sleep. You need some rest.
Yeah, just,
They're doing it, but
get
I'm
over it.
struggling. I don't care. You all right. You'll be okay. Go and take a nap. You'll be okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you have to hold that. You have to internalize all of that. And then they wonder when you explode, then they're like, well, oh, they crazy. Oh, we should have. And you're sitting there looking at them like, I just needed to talk.
Yeah, I
You
just needed
know?
to be heard. And then when you explode, and then you're the bad person or you've done something wrong, but you push me to this limit that the only way I could be heard is if I get loud or talk crazy. And now you
Mhm.
hear me, but now that you heard me, you want to punish me.
There you go. There you go.
You
You
know,
punished.
and it continues not just from childhood, but through adulthood.
Adulthood ready for going to see Jesus, and you
Yeah.
still here struggling.
Yes.
And you're right, because at the end of the day, it's that safe space. It's
Hmm.
having that conversation and allowing them to talk, allowing them, listen to them. All
Yeah.
they want is for you to listen and pay attention because a lot of the trauma is it could be as small as they it was something I was looking at. The little boy couldn't find a remote. No, the
Hmm.
remote didn't have a battery, and he was ready to go off, and he was I think 4, and I didn't get it, and he just going off. So his little brother had to tell him, "Oh, whoa, 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 it's not that serious." And I think his brother was 6 or 7, and his brother came to him, and I saw this on one of the TED talks, and they showed where the little boy was. He was just going crazy, and his older brother kind of like took him and put his hand on him and said, "Look, it's not that bad. We'll go get the batteries, but you have to
Hmm.
learn how to just sit down and pay attention. It is never that serious for you to go crazy like that." And he said, it'll be all right. And he just, and he put his arm around him and he went and got the batteries. And he put the batteries in the remote and the child went back just playing. And so as the brother continued to work with the younger brother and working with them and talking with them, then the little boy ended up growing up to be a very successful young man, I believe, if this is the
Mhm.
same one. Or he ended up being a really good student at school. It's one or the other.
Mhm.
But I just remember that scenario, and that's really what these children are needing. They need
Yeah,
to know that everything is going to be okay. They need to know when
yeah,
they walk outside
support.
that they don't have to worry about somebody trying to grab them, or
Hmm.
because they're black, they're not able to get a job. Well, maybe if don't worry about that. Because if you get skilled, if you're working hard and you're doing, open up your own business. And I
Yeah,
promise you, it
yes.
will be okay. And I think that's another thing with the mental health and the emotional well-being. We have to encourage them. We have to, once we find out what's wrong, whether it's a disorder, ADHD, or whatever it is, once we realize that we got them, then we have to elevate them. Let them know that, hey, you need something. And this is not just in the schools, the medical field. They need to
Hmm.
look at these children and realize black kids hurt. They
Yes.
hurt. Racism is real, no matter how much they don't want to believe it.
Yeah,
It's real.
amen. They love to say, oh, and remember I said they love to say, oh, there you go playing a race card. But how could I play a card that I didn't, if you didn't invent it in the first
Thank
place?
you.
Uh,
There you go.
we didn't invent racism.
You
We just
really look
have to
at us
experience,
and
we just have to live through it and experience it the best we can and survive it.
there you go. And they
And to say it does not exist, and
it,
I can go back to Professor Lewis R. Gordon. I still love The Fear of Black Consciousness.
mm-hmm,
Amazing book. I would
mm-hmm,
suggest everybody read it. I don't care what race you come from. It basically breaks down how that subconscious always is more predominant on the way people think than the conscious. And that's why a lot of people are afraid the woke. Well, being woke is being conscious to what's happening.
exactly.
And that subconscious mind, in the back of their mind, they have those, again, we can go, those stereotypes and everything that always cause them to behave or react in a way based on their subconscious instead of their conscience.
Mm-hmm,
So is a fact that they need to start being more conscious of their behaviors and what they do to people. And then when they find out, when going to the race car, they say, when they get called out, they get defensive and say, oh, you're using a race car. No, we are trying to help you recognize your behaviors and how you're treating us based on
exactly.
those subconscious beliefs that you internalize or you probably learned in one way or another. You might not be directly learned, but they might have been indirectly learned. And you don't even, a lot of people don't even realize that they have those within them. And they
Exactly.
need, that's why they need that training. To, even we can go, we talk about Jane Elliott, who is one of our allies who does a really good job going out there trying to explain to even her own people that you are subconsciously racist to a point,
Mm-hmm,
even though
mm-hmm.
they don't, a lot of them get upset about it, but there are microaggressions and different things that happen. And only
Yeah.
thing we're trying to do, we're not trying to make them look like bad people, but we too want to help them understand that
Yep.
their actions are not
Yes, yes, yes.
good and that we can all be better people if we work
And
together to change these behaviors.
I think, and if I think that they believe that if they don't change their behavior, or no, if they do change their behavior, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what am I trying to say right.
Mhm.
But mostly they need to change the behavior because it's affecting all children. But our black children, when you're telling me that 3 to 5 times likely that my black child, my black neighbor, my black co-worker's child or whoever commits suicide because they can't deal with the trauma that's going on at home, or they can't deal with the bullying. It was a 10-year-old
Hmm.
girl that a few years back, she committed suicide because they were bullying her so badly. And no child, I don't care who you are, should be bullied because of their out. Okay, because I'm black, you mad? And then we have to, again, that safe space, have to allow our children to tell us, and then we let them know that no, baby, yeah, they're bad out there. They don't like you. Your own people may be struggling with you. Other nationalities or ethnic groups may be going after you, but that's just stuff. That's just life. What you do is you get into you. You become stronger. You learn to read, write, do your math, handle your
Hmm.
business, enjoy being you. Because that's one of the
Yes.
other things we need to do. Because I do understand that you may have a disability or you may have things, depression is very, very strong. And unfortunately, the children, some medication they don't want to give children. But then
Yeah.
how do we help children that are depressed? A lot of our black children are depressed. They're
Hmm.
depressed. They're like, man, I was born black. Why are
Yeah.
you mad at me because I was born black? And when you're talking to them, you have to express to them what's going on. So that means you got to take them. I take my kids or my coworkers, and we were talking one time, and it was a Hispanic woman. Me and her laughed. She said I couldn't be in the same. No, she said we couldn't walk on the same side as the white people. It was white people here and
Mm.
Hispanic here. I said, girl, please, we couldn't even be in the building without police. And she started laughing. So and because we were having that discussion, because we were talking, we were able to help each other to understand who we are and that that does not define us. And that's
Mhm.
what we have to do with our children. So when they're going through that depression mode, we have to do the same thing. We
Yeah.
have to let them know, baby, we understand. If it's something chemical, send them to a psychologist. I feel like it should be a psychologist along with the counselors, but it should be a psychologist on that campus just to hear the children talk, just to
Yeah.
get them to understand who they are and be proud of who you are. Slavery was not the beginning of us.
And it's not the
And they
end.
need to know that because it hurts them to think that their ancestors were beaten, ate, killed, shot, everything you can imagine, that goes along with it because they're steady hearing things like that. So
Triggering too.
we have a lot. And so when you're looking at their mental health and the things that are the different factors, we have to be able to have that conversation and we have to have that safe space. And that's when I love what Nate Evans said. If you don't do anything else, those children need mentors. They need people to talk to. Black men, they need to talk to those black boys, and the black boys need to talk to the black men, and they need to understand the word love. Love does not mean, love. You don't mean, you got to be, whatever. Love, we have agape love. We have love, what is it? Collegial love. We have special love for each other that is loving, is sweet, is kind, is caring. We want the best for you. And that's what we have to instill in our children. If we have to start day one, I feel mama need to be saying that over that belly. Just start praying over that belly and
Uh,
have that conversation with a child while they there. We have to do what we have to do. Because I believe if we can instill in our children early, and if, like I said, if it's something chemical, if it's something that, that needs medication, we need to start that early too. And then adjust the dosage where they can still be able, they won't be falling on the floor sleeping. They won't be, because I had a student, bless his heart, he was on the floor asleep. And I felt so bad for him. And they finally got his dosage together where he was I mean, he was very smart, very intelligent. He had a good mindset, and he was learning and learning. And I can always tell when that dosage is wearing off. And I'm like,
mhm.
let me see. And we are talking, but I told him, I said, you can do it. Just hold on. Just hold on. I'm just going in there with him. Hold on. You can do it. You can do it. At least till you get out of my class. But they are fine. But we got to start at the very beginning. We got to. And
I
if we
agree.
can't, they need to have psychologists on those campuses to
And
talk to those
but
children.
yeah, we need psychologists, but we got to go to one of the biggest root causes, and that is the adults that are not acknowledging
Yes.
Black students' mental health and emotional well-being, especially when they're in crisis, and
That's
assuming
why we have to
that
have
their
those
behavior
psychologists on
problems,
campus.
and with the fact of, I look
Hmm.
at it in preschool, kids getting suspended. That's just ridiculous.
Okay.
I'm still trying to process what is a preschooler doing that
They
will get
cause
them to
you,
the point to be
but
suspended
that's when that
because
disorder.
they're acting out, because maybe they feel they maybe feel and experiencing being treated differently from the other kids, and they're
Hmm.
acting out is a cry for, hey, I'm here too. What about me? Because I'm thinking preschoolers are what, 3 to 4 years old, right?
Right.
So they don't know how to say, hey, why are you ignoring me? Why am I not being acknowledged? So that's their way of doing it. And then they end up suspended. I'm just going to this point, and this is especially when our babies going to schools, as I said, that are not predominantly with people that look like them.
Hmm.
And we know research, we're not making up anything. Research, anybody can look it up. You'll see
Yes.
research will show that
Hmm.
based on the the amount of suspensions does not align with the percentage they make up of a school or a district.
Exactly. Yes. You're, and I think again, that's where we need to. Well, you said something, and I'm going to say this. Starts at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with the adults at the very, very beginning. So it does go back to the parents to have
Mm-hmm.
that. The parents got to go first, and then
Mm-hmm.
because that's your first teacher. We all
Yeah.
know that. But then when they get into the school system, parents cannot. They can't say that's your job. They gotta be there.
Oh,
They have to be there. I don't
it
care
takes
what's
a
wrong with
village. It
you.
goes back to that. It takes a village, and you are the beginning of the village as a
There
parent.
you go. You the reason why we got to get that village. So
Mm-hmm.
have that conversation, even if the child is in a predominantly white school, and still be there.
Mm-hmm.
Still be there. Have that conversation. Pay attention to how your child comes home.
You
Look,
need to be there for them more than ever. And
no,
I'm
but
just
I'm
being
saying
honest. They really need to be there
if
for them.
you got your children strong and they going in there and then they come back home and they ready to start flipping, then you know something. It's a disconnect somewhere.
Or either
Now, mom and daddy,
they can become very quiet. It can
yes.
go both ways. They can go in solitude, or either they can be angry. Because predominantly white school. Yeah, like I said, my youngest is 24, and I know one thing she experienced. She has curly hair, like we all have curly hair. She had a student make a comment like, "Oh, your hair is like ramen noodles," or made and it was a white student.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking to myself, this is really strange, but you all go out and get perms to get it just like this, but then you're making comments on here like ours, to this day. And so it makes me question a lot
Oh,
of
yeah,
things.
they talk about
The
your mom.
cruel, yeah. And then you even have some
But then
students who deal
you
with, the colorism and stuff that they have to deal with. And that can come from even within their own community, the
mm-hmm.
colorism, where
You
they'll make comments in which I can't understand because it just makes no sense.
get that
Like I can
bag.
go
You
back
remember
to,
that bag?
yeah, the paper bag test from back in the day. But
There
the
you
thing
go.
about it is the variation in color is what make us beautiful and different.
There
Uh,
you go.
because one thing I can say that, especially with our race, we have the most variation on the
Girl,
planet.
you going
And
from
it's
whoop whoop
beautiful.
to
And some of the most beautiful supermodels are the color of the universe. And I'm gonna put it
yeah,
like that.
I call them chocolate chocolate.
The color of the universe, and that
Yeah,
look
that's a
look
dark
like
chocolate.
goddesses when you see them.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that's why I say like the color of the universe, because the universe is God. And so
Yeah.
that's just how I see it.
Mm.
And but then at a young age, they try to make them feel bad about themselves and not beautiful. And then that's why I say it does go back to the parent. From the moment they are born, and I see the kids who have the strongest ability to get through life are the ones who parents that started, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're great. What's that on the help? You is beautiful, you is smart. That was
You is intelligent.
you was that scene right there was very important because it demonstrated how important it was is to talk to
Affirmations
kids
are
that
very
way
important.
at a very, very young age so that they
Mhm.
internalize it before somebody else externalizes the wrong way
Exactly,
to think.
exactly. And that
Yeah,
messes with that mental state too. There's so
yes,
many different avenues that can or different factors that can destroy our mental health.
yeah.
And we just have to be able to do as much as we can at home, at school, when they come inside your classroom and they're having those conversations. Like you said, the first week should be nothing but team building. That
Yeah.
should be just like with us when we would first start school, before the kids get there, we do some type of team building. Each day we may do something
Mhm.
and we need team building. So those children we need to see, especially if we see something may not be on a balance, and then we can recognize it, and then we can then start talking and having that conversation and seeing if there's a psychologist or a therapist that can come online, come to the school. You don't have to pay them. They got some who actually will volunteer because that could be a part of
Mhm.
their own community service where they want to go to a school once a day, I mean, once a week or something to have that. Excuse me, there was a mentorship. The lawyers will go to a district called North Forest, and the lawyers will go out and they were mentoring those children. And it was a majority black district. And they will
Mhm.
go out there and help those children, and they would tutor them, give them those affirmations. And then when they did well, they took them to the Rockies game, they took them to the Texans game. They did different things to elevate, because a lot
Mhm.
of it, the mental trauma that they're going through is about what's going on out in the world or what's going on
Mhm.
at home. But you
Mhm.
have to develop that relationship, normal, God-fearing relationship where the
Mhm.
children are coming in school and they're handling their business. They are listening. And none of the children, all children just want to know they loved.
Uh,
That's
yes, that's a human experience everybody wants. I want to put it that way. We all want
mhm,
to feel love. We all
yes.
want to feel value. We all want to feel that our presence is acknowledged.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and when you don't experience that, I don't care if you're black, blue, purple, green, oh, white, yellow, red. Uh, it can cause a damaging effect on you mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that anybody is going to seek attention, or either they, like I said, it's either going to go one of two ways. Either that person will go in isolation and just become quiet and
They're gonna
alone,
act out.
or then you have those who will just
Yeah.
lash out.
Right.
It's going to go one of two ways. There's no middle ground, really.
Right.
So especially with kids that experience this, and that's why it's important as educators that we recognize and support students immediately when we see this.
Yeah.
And I do want to clarify that not all there are a lot of white people and Hispanic have been really good at recognizing this and supporting kids. I don't care who
Yeah.
they are, but
Yes.
then it's just too often noticeable when it is not recognized.
Yes.
There are fewer on one side than on the
Yeah.
other. And I'm just being honest, and this is based on my experience
No,
with
it's the
observation.
truth. It's
Yeah.
not. This is not where we just going, oh yeah, this is true. This is our opinion. No, no, no. It's stats.
It's
Everything that we're discussing is data. It's stats. Now,
and
unless they
there's
erase it off of Google, hey,
mhm.
it's stats, and it will show
It's
you
fact.
the stats.
And there's also studies, Lorna, that shows that, and I remember this study, and I wish I could pull it up, and they surveyed college students, and they asked, which teacher do you prefer in terms of race? They had Black, Asian, Hispanic, and white. And they did a multitude of different races of the students.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what they all picked? Was Black.
Black. Hmm.
And the reason why is because they felt that we were the most caring and understanding. And what that comes down to is our experiences make us more caring and understanding. Goes back to what we said, I think it was last week, the week before. We wouldn't wish what we go through, we have experienced on our worst enemies. And that's why we are more caring and understanding. We don't care if the child is purple, green, I don't know, pink. If we see a child hurting, we always tend to go to help them. I remember one young lady, you speak, she was, I love her to death too. She was like my daughter. She was white. We had a lot in common. She lost her father, and she said when she was young, and this was really shocking to me to learn. Now, I learned this when I moved to Arizona. She said, my mom always told me if I get lost, always look for a black lady. And that was the strangest thing I had ever heard.
Yeah, I never
And
heard.
then I've heard it again on social media. People bring that up that they were taught that, if you ever lose you in a superstore, supermarket, whatever, go find a black lady. And I just find that odd that they felt that safety is in black women. But then we as black women, we're seen as safe to care for their kids or protect them. But then in terms of other aspects of the world, they don't want our presence to be known. I don't know if that makes sense what I just said.
No, it does, and that's why I had said all of that for our black girl, our black boys, but our black girls struggle really bad too. They
Uh-huh.
struggle tremendously more for that very reason. You're saying how
Mhm.
powerful the young black girl is, but yet the black girl is one of the ones that will go to the office just as quick. Now, don't get me wrong. I
Yes.
know our black girls can make you want to go. Oh my goodness. Oh my, your eyeballs is just whatever. But once you finally realize that they're just experiencing another part of their races, they're going through their
Mhm.
own problems, and they are considered loud. They're considered annoying. They think they know it going on, and the neck thing they be over there,
Mhm.
and so they're struggling. And again, that's another thing for a safe space. So we have to let our girls know it's okay. I was loud. I was the one screaming down the hallway when I was in high
And,
school.
and then you also have to think about with black girls versus black boys. Black boys can rely on being really good athletes because, oh, those schools are going to love them if they're good athletes because that's bringing in revenue. Let's be
Right,
honest.
right.
You got a good team, it's bringing in a bunch of people to come and watch the game. You make money,
Mm-hmm.
especially in predominantly white schools
Right.
or Hispanic. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas black girls with girl sports is not paid attention to as much.
Yes, much. Yes.
So even if they are athletes, they're not given that same recognition,
Right.
that can be their, I want to say, safety line in those environments.
Mm-hmm.
So they're treated always as though the stereotype they try to create, the angry black woman, the angry black little girl, instead
Mm-hmm.
of being seen as
Very
who they
bright, intelligent
very
young
bright,
lady.
intelligent, beautiful, and they're sweet and kind, and they will give their all. And it's funny, those same little black girls they talk about become the safety net that, as I told one student, told me that black woman you go to if you need safety.
There you go.
and
You
it,
go
and it's,
find
it's
that black
really
woman,
funny
and
for
there we
that.
go. But
Yes.
that's the truth. That's the truth. And don't get me wrong. I've had my run-ins with my little black queens,
Mm-hmm.
but once and I had a group. Once they figured me out and once I figured them out, we actually became really good. Actually, I
Yes.
have one I'm Facebook friends with, and I just love her so much. And when she was younger, she was a student, and I wanted to just choke her because I saw all of that beauty. She's going to look at this and she's going to know exactly who I'm talking about. And she's a beautiful young lady. And I gave her everything that was going down because she wasn't carrying herself the way I believe she should have. And it
Mm-hmm.
did catch up with her. And she even told me that.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's doing very well. I mean, she's a beautiful person. And that's when I know that we just have to really get to know our girls, but again, give them that safe space to let them know, hey, it's okay if you want to be a little loud, but know when to be loud and know when to keep quiet or
Mm-hmm.
when to calm down. And I tell them it's called code switching. So
Mm.
when we teach them about code
Oh, yeah.
switching, I said there are days that it's okay when you with your friends and y'all having a good time, use the word fo. It doesn't matter. Acres home, we fo. That's what we do. But when you get into a professional setting, when you know there's going to be judgment there, it's for, and go on about your life. Because unfortunately, we do have to teach our children about code switching
Yes.
and tell them why we're code switching.
Mm-hmm.
And once we do that, again, that's another mental thing because it's like, when do I? This is when you do it. And it's sad that we have to do that. Just like it's sad that, have you ever saw the TV show, the movie American Son
Yes.
with Kerry Washington?
Mm-hmm.
And I think about that too. You know, and even though there wasn't really a mental thing, but that's something that our boys and our girls, they are in a car, they have to be careful who they're with, but they have to be careful on how they carry themselves. You
Mm-hmm.
know, they have to keep the hand on the wheel. They have to say yes, sir, and no, sir. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. They have to move with a certain way. That's a mental thing. That's a
Yes.
mental thing. And if people don't realize that, you shouldn't treat anybody with disrespect, regardless of what field that you're in, no matter what industry. Everyone should be treated with the utmost respect because we are all human. We're
Yes.
human. I don't know when it ever come that I'm 3/5 of anything. I'm 3/5 need some more money, but I'm not doing that. We are all human. We all in pain. You poke me, I'm gonna get mad. If I poke you, you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get mad. What does it say? Poke that bear. You keep poking that wrong bear, you're gonna find yourself poking something you're not gonna want.
And then they
We're
get
all
upset when you
human.
call them out for treating you as a 3/5.
There you
Okay.
go. So if and that can mess with your mental state, whether
Yes,
you
it
are young
can.
or old. So that's what everybody just want, the respect. You should not have to hear
Mm-hmm.
your president saying things that can be very damaging. Your governor, your
Mm-hmm.
mayor, or your principal, your teachers, anybody. No one should be calling you out your name. The Lord God gave you a name through your parents. That's your name.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's it. And that's what we have to get our children. We have to teach our children before they walk outside that door. We got to make sure that they know that no matter what happens out there, they can come home to that safe space. And if
Yes.
they need to call somebody, they need to also know it's some people out there. They're pastors. My son and my pastor talk all the time. And our youth minister. I mean, that's my son's safe space.
Yes.
So if he can't get a hold of me, he goes to them. He goes to my brothers. That's his safe space. Everybody has to be taught that safe space.
I agree. I
All right.
agree.
All right.
Everybody
Well,
needs a
that's
safe place.
our mental. I hope something was said or done that something was said or done, but just for our children, just that mental, it had we if that mental, that emotional well-being, they have to understand they have a safe space, and we as adults have to encourage them. And if we do see something wrong, we got to take them to therapy. It's nothing wrong with therapy. Baby, therapy is your best friend, and if you can't afford it, then call somebody. That's what your pastor is for, your
And
youth
I think they have
minister.
a lot of places that have free services too. People just need to know about it.
They need to go to
And
their
that is in therapy for the Black community has been a stigmatism.
yes.
You don't go telling people your business. And you know that was one of the things. You don't
What
go
you
out there and
what you
tell
do
people
at
your
home
business. You
stays
keep
at
that at
home.
home. But we have to break free of thinking that way. And then
Yeah.
two, you also have the option, find you a Black therapist because they're out there. You can go to groups. I know when I went to a therapist, and I'll admit I went to one because I've had
Yeah.
some
I
uh
found me a black Christian.
psychological and mental trauma from working specific jobs that I've
Mm-hmm.
had to go to a therapist. And I do look for a Black therapist because I want somebody who can relate to me and understand what I have gone through. I
Mm-hmm.
and it's not saying that a white or Hispanic or Asian, but I just feel I need someone who can understand me. And, don't blow it off like, oh, just get over it. No, but can understand and
And listen to you.
empathize
Right.
And they are out there, and we need to use them as resources more often because
Hmm.
it's a growing profession for us, and they're out there because they know it's needed for our community.
And we need to. And then I believe in a Christian, so I look for a Christian Black therapist, and they're out there too. And
Mm-hmm.
and if it comes down to it, and I can't find anybody, I call. I have a couple of people that I trust, and they know who they are. If they listen to this, they know who they are. I
Mm-hmm.
will call her in a little minute because she a little person, and I will call her in a minute, or I will call my cousins and my aunt. If I can't talk to my sister, I
Mm-hmm.
look, I got 'em. That's why it's very important for us to also instill that into our children. If you cannot get to, if mom and dad are not working, I like them little shorts where the baby is go. I'm calling my grandmother because I need her. I'm calling my nanny because my mama tripping. Just that is what it need to be. We need to be able to go to somebody and talk, and that's what's going to help our children. And
Mm-hmm.
because our children, they deserve to have an amazing life, and they can have that. We just got to be there as an adult and take care of them.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay,
Oh,
what you got? This is the end of us. What we
oh
got?
gosh,
The
it's
end
so
of
much
this
to say.
recording.
I just I just would like to say that I I'm looking for change in our education system and just society in general, being more aware of Black mental health and emotional well-being, and seeing it as the phenomena is becoming, and
Hmm.
that also we as a people come together and start supporting our children because they need us the most right now. And
Hmm.
we don't have to rely on others for this support. We need to come together as a community. Goes back, it takes a village. I don't care if the village stretches from California to New York or, Florida. We need to come together and create this community to support our children so they can navigate this society. Because one thing that has not changed over time, I don't care if civil rights, was established in the 60s, racism has not died. And it is going to continuously. I mean, unless something miraculous happens in the next couple years, it's going to continue to cause damage to the mental health of us as a people and our our social and emotional well-being. And we have to create some type of way to support each other through this. Okay.
Okay. I believe in miracles. I can't say that I'm a God's child and I don't believe in miracles. Baby, I
Mhm.
believe in miracles. And I believe that everything can change if we just continue to look to the hills.
Yeah.
And from whence coming our help. But where do our help come from? It come from him. That's my favorite one. I love that. But we just have to support them and just remember a safe space. Just start
Yes.
at home and find two, three people that you trust with your children, that you know they will be strong, and let them talk to them. And then parents just need to be at that school. Do not
Yes.
sit there and say,
Get involved.
that's their job. No, baby.
Involved.
Your job is to advocate for your child at all times. If you don't do nothing else, advocate.
Yes.
All right, young lady, just it was fun talking to you.
You too. So I guess we'll see you next Saturday.
Saturday, and we're
Eh,
going to talk about the educator side of it, the well-being
Oh,
of the.
well-being and mental health of educators, and it's a lot to talk about there.
There you go. All right, then.
Okay. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you.